Cancer. It is a word no one wants to hear, but when it is heard, it changes lives. Relay for Life helps make a difference.
My name is Erin Napier, and I've been involved with Relay for Life for, I think, coming up on my 8th year now. Husband and I started, we had a team at the Greenwood Relay. We just participated that way. We moved to the Franklin Relay, and we joined the committee, and now I chair the Franklin Relay for Life, and this will be my 3rd year to do that. Relay for Life is a fundraising event for the American Cancer Society. It was started in 1985 by a man named Gordy Klatt. He was a doctor, and he wanted to raise money for the American Cancer Society, and he decided that he would walk or run for 24 hours. Relay for Life is the biggest non-for-profit event in the world. I don't know where the numbers came in last year, but in 2012, they raised like over $400 million. And the next biggest non-for-profit activity that comes in behind them is Susan G. Komen, but I think they're like $125 million. So there's a huge difference in the amount of money that Relay for Life makes.
My name is Lois Ison. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in October of 2010. At first, I took it okay until I found out that a lumpectomy was not going to do me any good. My surgery, the cancer, the recovery is my family. I had wonderful support from my daughter-in-law Holly, from my daughter Rhonda, my granddaughters Randy, Tori, and Ellie. I honestly don't know what I would have done without them. I had great doctors. I had Chase Loddick. She was wonderful. Recommendation was made to have implants, but after the doctor talked to me, I have such a bad medical history of allergies and all, and there was just too much involved. And I was 62 years old. It didn't really bother me that I wasn't going to have breast anymore. The main thing is, I have to admit, mentally and emotionally, it does take a toll on you when I let it creep into my mind. I try to think about other things. I am so grateful and thankful that it was caught in the first stage. I'm one of the very lucky ones, and I have faith in God that it's not going to come back. But if it does, I'll deal with that when the time comes. Mentally, I tell myself that I'm never going to be the same as I was before. Emotionally, I have my times, usually when I take my showers. Some good advice: get rid of your mirrors if you have any in the bathroom. That was one of my biggest mistakes. I would take my shower, get out, and I would automatically look at myself. And I couldn't fathom that I'm always going to look this way. It was a big change after 60-some years.
The money for Relay for Life goes to the American Cancer Society, and it funds cancer research, it funds support groups for cancer patients and their families. It funds, American Cancer Society has a Hope Lodge where cancer patients and or their families can go stay while they're undergoing treatments. It has different programs like the Road to Recovery for cancer patients who need transportation to or from their doctor's appointments. People volunteer to come and pick them up, take them back and forth. Just all kinds of different things that Relay funds.
Well, when I first started doing Relay for Life, I just really thought of it as just a volunteer position. I was like, okay, these things need to be done, we need to raise money, that's great. But then the first time when I got there, It was really interesting because Patrick, who was the captain at that time, he's like, "Hey, you have to go over to the survivor lab." We didn't even talk about the survivor breakfast at the time. It was just go over to the survivor lab. And during that first Relay for Life, I realized all the things that they were doing for survivors. My idea was just let's raise money for research. Let's raise money for research. And then as the next year came around, I was like, oh, okay, well, there's a survivor breakfast, and then there's the labs, and then there's the luminarias, and there's everything else. I was like, okay, so now I've got to make sure that I really kind of divide my time and enjoy the things that are done for survivors instead of, instead of just working and working. I was diagnosed in 2003. It was, I planned on and applied for a position teaching English with the Japanese exchange teaching, the JET program. And this was just a basic physical for me to be able to go overseas. So that kind of started the process, and I was still able to go teach English in Japan. We just kind of deferred the time a little bit so that I could have the initial surgery and radiation treatment. But I was also treated in Japan. It was actually quite nice. I was a little nervous, but the doctors were great. I had 2 more surgeries because the papillary carcinoma decided to metastasize. So I had 2 surgeries in Japan. And with all of the jet setting, after my time in Japan, I came back to the States and lived in Maryland for a couple of years. And that's where I heard about Relay for Life. I was looking at different things that I could do to kind of help out with any kind of cancer research. I didn't join a team because I didn't really meet up with anybody that could actually help. And so I had, after working back, moving back to Indiana, I got together and realized that trying to find a job with health insurance was kind of difficult. So somebody said, "Hey, why don't you work at Starbucks? Because you could get benefits at Starbucks." I was like, "Okay." So I started working at Starbucks, and Patrick Hoffman was doing the Relay for Life here in Franklin. He's like, "Hey, you want to volunteer for this?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll volunteer for it, no problem." So I helped him out the first year. It was great. Really liked doing it. And the second year, he was like, "Okay, now you be the captain." And I was like, "All right." So he helped me out, and him and I basically were co-captains. And then the third year, he was like, "Oh, I want you to take it over completely." And I was like, "All right, sure, I can do that." One of the things that has really helped out with me doing Relay for Life is that I have a friend now who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she has had a single mastectomy. My grandfather he had colon cancer, and he kind of had an interesting attitude. He was like, "Okay, this is it, well, yes, I'm basically sad about it, but okay, it's something that needs to be done with. Let's deal with it." 5 surgeries, 2 radiation treatments within the past 10 years, and I don't really think of the whys per se, because I think that would really make me sad. I think of okay, so I've got this is, what can I do? I really try to talk to the doctors and say, "Hey, I want to try to work with this as naturally as possible, but also with something, with the metastases that I've got, to really, I don't know how else to kind of work with it, except for extracting the lymph nodes."
The Relay itself is a 24-hour event that takes place in June. It's at the Johnson Memorial Hospital, and it's a 24-hour event because cancer never sleeps. So for 24 hours, we are putting ourselves in the shoes of a cancer patient or a cancer survivor, and we are fighting cancer for them for 24 hours.
The main thing is the cancer is gone. I still have my life. I still have my family. The most important things in my life are still here. Having my breast is not.